today we are going to learn about the Russian Socialist Revolution. Russian related to Russia, Socialist related to Socialism, Revolution. Let's try to understand this. Socialism. What socialism says? Means of production, distribution and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. Why as a whole? Why by the community? According to socialism, no one or no individual lives or works in isolation. They work with each other in cooperation. They live with each other in cooperation. As we said that they work in cooperation. Whatever they produce, it becomes the production of society, not the production of an individual. That's why it should be owned, regulated and controlled. In a socialistic system, you will find industries, banks, factories owned and controlled by the government, and prices are regulated by the government. Even what we say that industries owned by government, we say you can see that role of workers is bigger in this. Okay, next one we move to quickly. Revolution, nothing but sudden or great change, especially violent change of a system of government. We say, when we say, you can apply present topic, the Russian Socialist Revolution. When you say simply sudden and great change, you can take Industrial Revolution. Okay, where Russia is, it's easy to point out Russia. Russia is the biggest country on this planet in terms of area. And today's topic, we say that Russian Empire. How much big present Russia, and many countries of the Russia were the part of Russian Empire. Rulers were called Tsars. Emperors of Russia were called Tsars. Okay, who was the last ruler? We will discuss all that. Which countries or which continents Russia is spread? Whichever you see the map of Europe or Asia, you will find Russia there. We can call Euro-Asian power or Eurasian power, which is spread in both continents. Okay, let's see countries. Which countries this was spread? Present Russia, Ukraine, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Georgia, Armenia, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, parts of Poland, present Turkey. Okay, these were, I think I might be missing few, these were the part of Russian Empire. Big empire, population was also big one. What do we say, that 156 million was the population after China and India. Can you guess what was the source of livelihood? No, surprisingly, agriculture. What was that? Agriculture. In the early 20th part of early 20th century, or the beginning of the 20th century, when you see 85% of the people were living in villages. Okay, and the society was dominated by feudal lords. You can recall what you learnt in case of India or China or the medieval Europe. Most of the lands were owned and controlled by the feudal lords, and Russia was the no exception. You will surprise, in the year 1914, I try to get something for you that 1914, what percentage these feudal lords occupy? They were hardly 1.1%, but a large extent of lands they occupied, and these peasants were nothing but small farmers, had to pay tax. They owned small chunks of land. Frequently they clashed with these landlords. Okay, so we were discussing that Russian rulers were called czars, individual Tsar, we say that. Who was that? Tsar the Nicholas II. Tsar the Nicholas II was the ruler of Russian Empire. He was ruling with the help of bureaucracy and army. Army, you know very well, bureaucracy, nothing but officials, so you can take. And Russian economy suffered a lot when it became part of First World War. Even though Russia had the largest army in the world at the time, but it suffered heavily when it encountered, when it faced industrially developed Germany. 2 million soldiers and civilians lost their lives because of this First World War. And you know that what war requires, what soldiers need, they need weapons, arms and ammunitions and food supply. Okay, so in Russia's case, food was diverted to the battlefields. What happened? Diverted. When it was diverted, shortage of food occurred. And when shortage of food occurs, what happens? You know that prices increases, price rise, price hike, you know very well. Against this, against shortage of food, on 8th of March 1917, around 10,000 women of the capital St. Petersburg, we call this Petrograd, Leningrad, pardon me, and now once again we call this St. Petersburg. They demonstrated, they wanted peace and bread. It's simple to understand. Shortage of food, so they wanted bread and peace. Why? Russia was the largest or the biggest loser in terms of soldiers in the First World War. So naturally, they were demanding end of war. End of war. And the government, what government does, you know that in present system or the previous system of government, they will send armed men, or they send police or that army to suppress or crush these protests. And this St. Petersburg was not an exception to this. Police went to suppress them, and these protesters clashed with the police, but they did not leave the place. And on 11th of March, here you see that entire drama changed in 2 days. According to textbook, 2 days situation changed. From 11th of March, when regiments of soldiers were sent to crush these protesters, instead of crushing them, they joined protesters. And King the Nicholas II, who was the emperor of Russia, he asked his brother to take the charge, and his brother refused to do that. On 15th of March, the government Russian Empire ended, and a provisional government or a temporary government was formed. Okay, getting me? So here two demands we need to keep in mind so that we can understand. March revolution we call spontaneous revolution or first phase of revolution. No one planned for this. And revolution which occurred in the month of October, we call that planned revolution. Bolsheviks planned for that. And second phase of revolution. When you read on net or some other books, you may get this February revolution, March revolution. When you learn about the second phase of revolution, you will encounter October, November. The same way February, March you will encounter, because of the difference in calendar. You will find difference in months, right? So two demands we need to keep in mind. What they were: peace and bread. New government was formed, and in this majority people were liberals and aristocrats. They decided to continue war. Why? Honor of Russia was the big issue for them. Okay, and what you notice that in the initial stages. In the initial stages, um, two provisional governments changed there. Okay, so here two rulers, you will find that Kerensky might be that the last one. So in this case, what you learned that this provisional government we were learning about, they did not fulfill the demands of the people. They continued war. So what will happen? Shortage of food will continue, and the next one, loss of lives of the people. Prices were soaring up. So this was the time Lenin, who was exiled by the previous rulers, he comes, he enters Russia again and organizes. So when war continued, people fed up with this war and they started organizing themselves in councils which were called Soviets. Let me clear one thing, that most of the councils were owned, controlled, or dominated or influenced by the communists. We call these communists, or what do we call that, hardliners. We say that Bolsheviks, we call them. Okay, so they were influencing all this. So people in councils, they're gathering and they all were against the provisional government. And what we say that Lenin, who was the leader of Bolshevik party, he with few of his important personalities or the persons of his party, I think almost 12 they were in number, and they decided that time has come for the revolution or the overthrowing of this government. Then you can see that revolt occurred in the month of October. Why? Those two demands have not been fulfilled, prices were rising, so immediately in a short period of time they captured power. Almost initially small incidents took place, but after that most of the regiments came in support of Bolsheviks, and in a short period of time this government was overturned, and Bolsheviks and their leader Lenin captured power. And after capturing power, distribution of land took place, and they had a treaty with Germany and tried to come out of the war. So they got peace, they distributed lands, and no diversion of food. Okay, and control of factories and all these will come under the government. But they did not get immediate peace. Why? Civil war broke out. Let me tell you one thing, let me clear you one thing, that when abdication of throne occurred, Nicholas II's government ended. Who suffered? Kings and who were close with him. Kings, feudalists. Kings, what do we call that? Aristocrats, or the kings who were in favor of the old system. These all were the sufferers. These people were not ready to accept a new form of government, so they raised weapons. They took weapons and started fighting. So here two armies, we say that Bolsheviks army, so the revolutionary army, so we say that Red Army, and which revolted against this conservative group, we call that White armies, and they had the support of England, France, USA, and Japan. It may surprise you why socialist ideology is completely against capitalistic ideology. So naturally they came in support of that. But this revolutionary government, by the year of 1920, according to our textbook, suppressed all this, and whichever countries were part of Russian Empire, they were given freedom, and all of them became part of what do we call that, USSR or Soviet Union in the year 1922. Socialism believes that equal distribution of wealth and they tried an experiment without any exploiters, no capitalists, no landlords, no kings. Okay, without these exploiters, they tried to establish a modern society. Whether they got success or not, we will discuss in videos, one of our videos when time comes. Thank you very much.